So I guess just to start off, I really want to get your name, title, company, and just introduce yourself and maybe a few minutes on the background of your education and your journey coming to the United States, because that's a very unique story that I think gets lost sometimes in, just in, just general business communications. You don't really get to know engineers too often. So, but you have a unique story. So I kind of want to put that out there.
Okay. Yes. All right. I will try my best here to summarize it. I was born and raised in a small village, remote village in Nepal. When I was growing up, the closest motorized road was about 9 hours hike away. There were no, there was no running water and not even bicycleable roads. It was in the mountains.
Yeah, just underneath Everest, right? In that
Yeah,
territory.
underneath Mount Dhaulagiri. Yeah,
Okay.
Everest is in the eastern part of Nepal. I grew up in the center part,
Okay.
Mount Dhaulagiri and Mount Masapuchre, the Annapurna circuit, very close to the Annapurna circuit,
Hmm.
which is a very famous trekking route. And when I was growing up, I was fascinated basically with electricity. Mainly, a man from our village went to India and returned to the village with a battery operated radio. I was only 4 years old then. And he played it for me. And I looked at it everywhere. I turned it, looked, just, it's a small box. And I said, Uncle, there must be the loudest people in this tiniest box. Um, and he said, no, son, it's science. It's people like you and I made it. And I said, Uncle, can I make one too? And he said, yeah, but what do I have to do that? You have to study hard.
Hmm.
And well, that kind of planted that seed in my brains. But then again, how do I study hard? Then it turns out that when I was in the 8th grade, I had to pick a subject about mathematics or non-mathematics, which is economics. So if you did not take mathematics when you were in the 8th grade, um, you could not pursue anything in your further studies when you went to college in the area of science. So mathematics was the essential part. But until the 8th grade, then I was enrolled in that optional mathematics course, and math did not come easy to me. And the instructor said to my father basically that I was brain dead in math.
And yet here we are.
Yeah, and here we are. And then all these years, I have always wanted to understand how that radio worked. And then I started just having these arguments with whoever the divine entity was. Why did you give me the curiosity but not the ability?
Hmm.
Until then, I would tinker with bamboos. I would get batteries from some shopkeeper there in the village. I would tinker with bamboo pipes and actually make flashlights there with steel wool as the lighting. And yeah, all these experiments, I would make bells. But when I was in the 8th grade, and the reality hit that I was not capable.
Mm.
Then I was despondent naturally, and but it didn't. But I always wanted to understand how that radio worked, and through many tumultuous journeys, and I met a Peace Corps volunteer. When I was in the 10th grade, and I was held back 1 year because I had tuberculosis.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
I didn't know
bone TB. Yeah, and then I took the national test. I failed in math. So I repeated the test. I met the Peace Corps volunteer. I tried to learn math from him as well as English. I actually mostly learned English from him, but I took the exam, you know, and I did pass, barely passed the math course, barely.
that. Hmm.
But it was not the optional math, it was the regular math, but that was not enough for me to study science in college. So I was not allowed to study science in college in Nepal. So I looked for ways to, go abroad, and eventually I found a very generous lady here who was traveling with her two sons, and her husband was still here in the United States. She eventually sponsored me, and she became my American mom, and for me to come here. But I couldn't come here to study science. I came here to study philosophy.
Oh.
And
So,
for a year, yeah, I studied philosophy, humanities, and at a college program. And then I would, do very well in the courses. But then again, something was in the back of my mind that still did not explain. I would get A's, but that did not explain how that radio worked.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Then I thought maybe I should tiptoe, I should try it. And I went to another college where it was Sierra Nevada College. I went to Sierra Nevada College and took a very basic math course there, Math 101. And then it was a, private college. I thought I would have better luck, starting math, from the beginning. But about for a couple of months, I did not understand anything. I would just have a dictionary in front of me. I would understand every word, but I did not understand the concept of math
mm-hmm.
until something clicked. And it was around 3 a.m. in the morning. I was studying the theory of sets, the intersection and unions. And then the concept was so simple that I was making a mountain out of the molehill.
Mm-hmm.
And I understood that so clearly that I went to the next chapter. Then that made sense because I understood the previous chapter. Within 1 month, I was done with the whole course.
Yes, you had to build your foundation to, to tack on, more levels of mathematics.
Yes. And then I said, oh, okay, my destiny has to be at the university.
Mm-hmm.
Then I transferred myself to the University of Nevada, Reno.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the university, I took 3 math courses simultaneously: algebra, analytic geometry, and trigonometry. And within a month, I finished them. It became so interesting to me that math started just coming in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then I became a tutor at the university to teach math and science.
Now, is this where you got into the, I don't know, maybe got into counting cards?
Oh yeah, a few years down the road. That is correct. And it just became, math started coming so easy to me that, I would take advanced math courses, differential equations. I could just solve differential equations, second order partial differential equations in my head.
Yeah.
And then I became a tutor, but being a tutor was the best thing because teaching is learning twice.
Oh yeah.
And it just helped me. I was tutoring about 38 different courses in math and science, including dynamics, thermodynamics, statics, electrical engineering courses, all kinds of math, just all levels of math. I was a tutor, and that's how I made my, pocket money.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so, then I said.
So obviously the sets, like learning how to see patterns and learn the foundations of math obviously led to the ability to count cards at casinos in Reno, and because you're basically finding patterns at that point, right?
Okay, then I having completed those math courses, I became so interested. Now I officially got enrolled in the electrical engineering program and started taking electrical engineering classes as I was also tutoring, 38 different courses. And that's how I made my pocket money. Then I was living in the dorms, and I realized that, being in Reno, casinos were everywhere. I realized some of my, dorm mates there, I saw them, playing cards, and I became interested, and I realized that, 21, they used to have single decks then. And I realized that I could actually, you know, uh, I positioned myself in the winning, favor.
Mm-hmm.
So my, my dorm mates, they would just collect up their pennies, from their piggy banks. They would just take me, down to the casinos, and I would gamble for them and
So
win them.
they were using you.
Yeah,
That's a good way
yeah,
to make friends in the dorm.
yeah. And well, a lot of them I made, quite a bit of money for them,
Yeah.
gambling. And then until I got kicked out of a casino once, and I did not go thereafter.
Nice.
Basically what I was doing was I was double downing on a blackjack, and then
You
they
just,
could tell that I was,
they just knew. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
because, yeah, and which I shouldn't have done. I should have known better not to double down on a blackjack. It's
yeah.
just for that, little extra gain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's kind of like the stock market now. A lot of us, we don't sell on time because we just want that little extra and we lose
exactly.
everything.
So fast forwarding to uh, getting into the engineering field. So
Yeah.
you get your electrical engineering degree from Reno. Is that correct?
Yes, I did. And I got my bachelor's. I successfully graduated with my bachelor's. And then my last year, I took the radio engineering course. And then just now, I became so happy. It was, the satisfaction was beyond explanation, because all my life I wanted to understand how that radio worked. Here I am. I finally understood how that radio worked. But at the end of the course, many courses, he said, it's beyond the scope of this course. So then I went on to do my master's. After I completed my master's, again at the end of the textbook, it said it's beyond the scope of this course. And then I said, no, I am going to have to go for my PhD. But then I also saw that there were many, professional students who spent years and years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, and our department average was 4.6 years. And I said, I'm not going to be a professional student. I'm going to finish my PhD as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I just completely made a plan in my mind how I was going to do that. And then I executed it, and it happened. I did complete in 2 years, and then I went to work as an R&D engineer at Allen Telecom at the time,
Okay.
which was later bought by CommScope. Andrew Corporation, and Andrew was bought by CommScope. I worked there for 5 years, and I had never, designed filters before until I went there. And how I got there was 100% of their engineers had resigned all in one day. I got there and I had the products to see, but I didn't have the people to teach me.
Mm-hmm. So it's very
And
learn on the fly, huh?
yeah, and then, there was my boss who also was a, very, college educated. He had a PhD, and he was also, he was a mentor to a certain degree. But then again, everything had to be, I had to learn from what I had seen instead of, from person. Then it turned out that I wound up, coming up with very, very, interesting techniques that, nobody had done before. Some were very good, some were not that good. And which I found out until later. I was approached by Filtronic Comtech and moved from Reno, Nevada to Merrimack, New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
They made a very, promising job offer. And I moved there, and I was there until, PowerWave bought Filtronic. And then that's where I realized that some of the techniques I had developed were unique, and and also many techniques that I learned at Filtronic were different. So combining them gave Filtronic to be the most innovative filter company in the world then.
Mm-hmm.
And we made.
And that's when you moved from New Hampshire to Irvine, California, correct?
After PowerWave bought,
Yes.
Power, I bought Filtronic in 2006, but I moved to Irvine, California in 2000. Well, the locations are we're in Santa Ana, California in 2008. Just 2 years later, I moved here,
Mm-hmm.
and I was their scientist here.
That's right. Yep.
And then for 5 years later, PowerWeb went bankrupt. It was not because of the lack of innovation or anything. We had one of the most innovative products. Because of the management structure, it
Mm-hmm.
went bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And after PowerWeb went bankrupt, then I joined as a CTO Lark Engineering, which was bought by Secure Communications. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where I met my colleagues, Louis, our CTO, Louis, and also Mike, our Chief Marketing Officer,
Yep.
Sales and Marketing Officer, Mike
Mm-hmm.
Giarratano, I met at Lark.
Mm-hmm.
Then, all this time, I joined as a CTO, but somehow I was not something was bothering me again, like previously. Something was bothering me. I always wanted to open my own company, but it was never the right time. Someday my wife was going to school, and another time my wife was graduating, another time a kid was being born, another time another kid being born. It was never the right time. That when I became the CTO, then I looked back and I realized that, every one of those days was a good day.
Mm-hmm.
Any day I delay, I'm delaying in our own, potential, future.
I can
So,
kind of say the same thing from my aspect. When I decided to branch off and start my own rep firm, I was moving. I just obviously had to quit my last job, and I was having my first child. So those three things back to back to back. But I thought to myself, if I don't do this now, I'll probably regret it later. So,
oh yeah, every day. And, all for what? Yeah, the money part, I lost a lot of, I never sold one single share at PowerWave.
mm-hmm.
And there, a lot of money was, lost there. Then I realized that money is not everything, but it's not that money is so good, but the lack of it is so bad too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, you come from humble beginnings, so
that is correct. I grew up in the deepest of the deep poverty circumstances.
exactly.
And
So,
and
getting to 3H Communication Systems, when you finally decided to go into business with Mike and Louise
yes,
and start 3H.
yes.
I mean, and what the 3H: humility, honesty, and
Honesty, humility, and harmony.
harmony. That's correct. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to. I had seen a lot of dishonesty and in the industry, and we wanted to. All three of us actually coincided in our thoughts that we wanted to start a company, honest company.
Mm-hmm.
That would. It didn't have to be. We didn't have to succumb to dishonest practices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then that's, yeah.
So, and that was what year?
That was in 2014.
2014.
I actually left my last job, Secure Communications, on January 24th,
mm-hmm.
and started and registered 3H in Delaware on January. It was registered on just February 4th was the day, but immediately started the process.
So approximately 6 years, and what are we, 45 employees?
Oh yes, we have about sometimes 45 to 49 employees,
mm-hmm.
and that does not include sales reps.
Yes.
And we have, yeah.
Which I am one of them, full disclosure. So if anyone listening or watching, I cover the Mid-Atlantic territory, and I've been with you guys since 2014. So right from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, and not only that, Paul, with your tenacity, and you also come from your passion, you want to help both ways. You want to help the companies and you want to help the customers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
that's where you,
it's
yeah.
all about finding solutions, right? And solutions that make sense. If it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. But let's give the customer an option, and that's just kind of been my theory on sales tactics. But 3H is mostly focused on RF microwave filters up to 50 gigahertz, right?
Actually, we have worked up to 60 gigahertz
Oh,
right
we're
now.
up to 60. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And military defense and aerospace applications, telecom, commercial. What kind of applications are you seeing right now that are popular?
A lot of defense, basically I am jammers, IED jammers, and um, and also satellite telecommunications,
Mm-hmm.
and also commercial satellite communications.
So, and besides jammers, that kind of plays into what I've noticed in my territory, UAV and counter UAV.
Oh yeah, UAV and drones,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and telecom. Telecom is another one.
Yep.
Just
And
in anywhere there is wireless, just any wireless telecommunication, we have our products in.
and those are just the filtering aspect of it. What about the uh,
Well,
yes, I can hear you. You muted yourself for a little bit. That's fine.
oh no, it actually, a phone, despite being on the airplane mode, the phone call came through.
Oh, well, I can hear you now, so we're good. And you guys also get into other aspects like stadium connectivity, where you guys are getting into Wi-Fi combiners and
Yeah,
LTE combiners.
Wi-Fi combiners, power combiners, high power applications, low power applications, and um, what makes us successful is that all three of us, when we came on board, we knew that starting a new company, you don't stand a chance unless you bring something different to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And innovation. And it has to be both, in all three categories: product innovation, manufacturing innovation, and also price innovation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know,
If you're
and
not first to market, you're at a disadvantage. So you better be the best, or you better be inexpensive, right? You have to have some type of leg up in that aspect. And I feel like 3H kind of combines some of the, I don't want to say low cost, but high quality for the price point, right?
exactly, it's the quality that is important. Well, customers will probably forget a high price thing, sometimes,
Mhm.
but they will not forget a bad quality.
Exactly, exactly.
And
So, what kind of filtering solutions do you have when it comes to what kind of filtering architecture? Obviously, cavity is one of them. Lumped element, ceramic. Could you explain what are the advantages and disadvantages of each of those different topologies?
yes, we make just about all kinds of filters except, superconducting or saw and bar filters.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some of the lowest, we call them pico filters. Smallest filters are our printed filters.
Mm-hmm.
And the printed filters, we just print them right on the dielectric, on the, laminate boards, Rogers, Duroid, or Taconic, boards, right? Printed filters. And then of the hybrid concept that we came up with, our own innovation is our nano filters. Our nano filters combine all printed, lumped, and ceramics, all three different types, and they're just 80 thousandths of an inch high. And in this filter category, we can have many. The traditional filter theory says that you will always have one less degree of zero, one less number of zeros than poles. But here in this particular category, we have actually more zeros than poles. And how we do that, that's our innovation.
Exactly.
And that's what enables us to make these brick wall filters, very sharp filters in this very tiny packet size, just 2 millimeters high, 80 thousandths of an inch.
Yeah.
And we
You,
can
you,
have
always,
10,
you always
11, 12, zeros.
Yeah, you always hear size is king, and customers are trying to shrink a board this size to this size, right? And sometimes filters can be the biggest component on that board, and if you can come in with a game-changing form factor, I mean, customers gonna love you.
Yes, and that is one of the reasons. I mean, that is very popular in drone applications. Drones require very light filters. And here, I mean, you can realize, just 10, 11 poles and just, 10, 11 zeros, sometimes more, a lot of the time more zeros than poles in this tiny packet size, which is just 2/100ths of an inch, long. Just 650 long, 6/100ths of an inch long, and 2/100ths of an inch wide, and just thickness is just 2 millimeters or 80 thousandths of an inch. And these are our nano filters. Yep. And our pico filters can go down to 60 thousandths high.
Yeah. Yep. And you guys are pretty quick at turning around technical proposals, and I will say customer service is definitely not an issue. From my perspective, getting answers to customers, and no qualms with getting on conference calls directly with the customers. You guys have direct communication, not too many salesmen within the company to kind of get in the way of engineer to engineer communications. So that's always a plus. It's customer service to a T. That's what makes you guys great.
Yeah, and also we realized, all of us we're engineers, we realize when engineers have an idea, they want to realize that idea as quickly as possible. If we wait a week or two, that idea will be forgotten. So we want to catch on to that momentum and help our customers realize their, dream, basically providing them what is possible, what is not possible, what we can achieve with the S2P data as quickly as possible to them, normally within 24 to 48 hours, and depending on the complexity. And we even talk to them on the phone and just sometimes design a system as we speak with them on the phone, and provide them the S2P data right away, so they can plug that data into their simulator and see that that works. And that has resulted into a lot of business.
Yeah, sometimes, I mean, you and I see it, we need quick turnaround answers for customers, especially when they're in the defense industry and they need to get something prototyped and fielded ASAP, and they can't really wait too long for some plots to, a week or two to get a plot to you. So, that's definitely customer service again, playing a key role in winning new business and building those relationships.
Yes, and that's small filters, right? And big filters. And one of the biggest challenges are, filters for low PIM. PIM stands for passive intermodulation and high power. We make filters that go as high as 30 kilowatts in peak power and several hundred watts of average power. And then PIM levels as high as 170 dBc with 40 watts of power per tone, and which are some of the severest. And actually, Microwave Journal, there was wrote us about us, our second to none, basically, understanding of the PIM. And that was one of the reasons Filtronic had recruited me from Allen Telecom to actually work on products that required low PIM and high power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was your heritage when it came to 30 kilowatt. Sometimes when I'm in the lobby talking with customers, and I give the 3H spiel, and I say we can go this small and we can go up to 30 kilowatts. And I probably should be a little bit more clear when I say 30 kilowatts is a little bit bigger of a form factor than than our nano or pico solution. So, but they are pretty amazed when I say 30 kilowatts.
Yeah, actually, sometimes to meet 30 kilowatts of power, the units don't have to be big because we understand exactly where the gaps need to be bigger because we employ theory completely.
Mm-hmm.
And just like when you build a house, you're putting a beam, you don't need to load up every wall, to the same strength as the, supporting base.
Mm-hmm.
We understand that exactly. So the filters are shrunk, but we will have the gaps where needed to meet that 30 kilowatts. And so it just, when you look at the device, it just becomes, non-intuitive that how could this handle, that much power? That's because, we know
Mm-hmm.
where to focus.
Yeah, so one last thing I really wanted to touch on was any RF or microwave subsystems, switch filter banks, tunable filters, anything that's incorporating more than just a filter. What kind of product portfolio do you have that expands on the competencies of our filter technology with other components?
Yes, that's a good question. Actually, the whole RF front-end subsystems, that includes TMAs, which are tower-mounted amplifiers, radio heads. Sometimes we also work with other companies that manufacture power amplifiers, and we work together to actually integrate the LNAs and the power amplifiers
Mm-hmm.
also. And also, filters, diplexers, multiplexers, integrated with the couplers,
Mm-hmm.
and any the frequency conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, you may have a very wide band filter with very sharp skirts, and you may have two notches in the middle of the band, and we make those as well. So, and also well, substantial business our substantial business is in the instrumentation business also. For example, low PIM measuring devices, they use our diplexers.
Test and measurement solutions, right?
Yes, in test and measurements.
Mm-hmm. So,
Like, for example, this PIM master, there's a PIM measuring equipment and have our big diplexers in there.
gotcha. So you're, telecom, aerospace and defense, test and measurement. So you cover all the fields. You do multiple, filter topologies. You do subsystems. You get the whole picture, right? So,
Yes.
and if a customer comes with you with a problem, you can most likely engineer some type of solution with pulling from, your expertise, Louise's expertise from 30 years each of engineering experience. Is that about right?
Yes, yes. And also innovation. We recognize innovation in innovative companies. Like, for example, one example is Menlo Microwave. They have come up with these MEM switches, which are basically, I have never seen any other product
Yeah,
that small and handling.
they're getting a
That
lot
much
of attention now.
power and a whole lot.
I rep them as well in the Mid-Atlantic, and I definitely get a lot of shock value when I say 25 watts in this tiny package for a mechanical switch, that can do 18 gigahertz. Whoa! And I get a lot of gasps, which is nice. And you guys have actually partnered with them on a switch filter bank product, which can handle 25 watts. I think this particular one went up to 6 gigahertz, correct?
That is correct. And yeah, and this we have recognized the power of that, and we actually wanted to partner with them, and we made working switch filter banks with them, and the insertion loss is superb, and the power handling in a small package size like that just is superb. And also we can also make tunable filters with those switches.
It seemed like a natural fit with the Nano and Pico filters with their extremely small MEM switch. It made sense, right? Just on paper to collaborate. So seems like it's been a good venture so far.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's, unless there's anything else you want to touch on before I let you go. I definitely appreciate the time.
Yeah, and actually that's my passion, basically. The reason, I mean, all three of us, having seen many Mendes's practices, numerous businesses performed in their delusive, perception that they needed to conduct in such a way in order to succeed. We wanted to have a different company, always adhering to, righteousness while conducting business with value based only on virtue, intended as a constant reminder to never deviate from the righteous path of the company to the founding principles. Hence, we named our company, 3H, which stands for honesty, humility, and harmony.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a great way to end it. I really appreciate your time. And I think that getting your story out and the beginnings of 3H is extremely important to our customer base. And, I wanted to thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you so much, Purna.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good one.